All right, Bruno, f of x equals 1 plus 1 over x minus 2. Domain 0 is less than or equal to x, less than 3. From the graph, maximum, minimum values, range. Please explain how to find the maximum, minimum, and range. The answer book says the maximum value does not exist. The minimum value does not exist. The range is from 1/2 to is less than 1/2 and greater than 2. Can you explain how they got this? How does the maximum and minimum not exist if they're both in the domain restrictions and they are not in the asymptotes? Okay, so what's really important about this is you got to know what the graph looks like, and you have to understand absolute maximum values and minimum values. So this graph, we have a 1 over x minus 2 plus 1. Now, to my student about that was talking about parent graphs, this is where parent graphs can become so important. So if I was looking at the parent graph, so the parent graph, come on, parent graph of y equals 1 over x looks like this. Like that. We're going to have a vertical asymptote at x equals 0 and a horizontal asymptote at y equals 0. So now we need to look at, well, what are the transformations then that are going on? I'm shifting my graph 2 units to the right and shifting my graph up 1 unit. So without the restrictions on the domain, my graph is going to look something like this. I'm going to be shifted over 2 units and then shifted up 1 unit. So now I have a horizontal asymptote at +1, and I have a vertical asymptote at x equals 2. So now my graph looks something like this. So 1, 2, I could say it's 3, and then my graph looks something like that. Okay, I'm not sure, I don't have the exact points, whatever. So that's what the graph looks like. Now, it does say that the domain is going to be restricted from 0 to 3. So therefore, the graph probably looks something more like this. 0, going down right there, and then 3, 1, 2, 3. So you probably have a dot here, and then going from there. Okay, so the gray is actually representing my domain restrictions. Oh wait, 0 to 3. Sorry about that. No, that's not what the graph looks like. Let's undo. No, undo. There you go. Come on. Okay. I want to undo. Oh, come on. Now you're not going to be mad at me. Okay. So, no, sorry. The gray graph actually, or the domain within that restriction is actually going to look like this. Let me get that done. Come on. So let me get this going. There you go. All right, perfect. I can't believe I did that. So 1 to 3. So it's going to look like this dot here, and then that's going up. Okay, so why is there no absolute maximum or absolute minimum? Look at the gray graph, right? The graph is continually going down, 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 down. It's trying to approach this vertical asymptote. And then all the way from 3, it's continually going up. It's trying to approach that vertical asymptote. So that's why there is no absolute maximum or absolute minimum. Yeah, you have these values, but that's not the highest point on the graph. The highest point on the graph between this range, between 0 and 3, is following. It keeps on going up and up and going far, far, down, down, down. So that's why that's not working from in that case. Now, in terms of the range, so that's why there's no maximum value. And the range, you can see, how do you find that range? Well, again, like the range is a set of the y values, right? So if you want to know what is my range for f of 0, plug in f of 0. So I get 1 over 0 minus 2 plus 1. Well, that's a negative 1/2 plus 1, which equals a positive 1/2. So that's why you can see this range of y values. You can see this graph goes all the way down to negative infinity, but the highest point that's going to go to is going to be that a positive 1/2? Yeah, that's a positive 1/2. So that's supposed to go like that, then from on there. So make the graph look like that. Okay, there's your y value. So it's supposed to be at positive 1/2. And that's how they got that value. So f of x is less than to a positive 1/2. And then from 2, so you go all the way from 3. So if you plug in 3, so let's figure out what f of 3 is. Because that's the other part of your domain, right? So we know that these are kind of the two parts. We know that 3 is the lowest part of my range. So if I need to figure out what that value is. So if I do 1 over 3 minus 2 plus 1. So 3 minus 2 is 1. So therefore you can see, yeah, f of 3 equals 2. But everything above, everything less than my x value of 3, the range keeps on going up. So that's why we can say it's going to be from 2 to infinity. So that's how they got that range. So hopefully that helps you out. These values, yeah, it's 2, f of 0 equals 1/2. That's true. But though, again, if you look at the graph looks like this. Right? That's not the highest value. This value is not the highest point. That's not the minimum value. This graph keeps on going farther down. It's approaching that vertical asymptote. This is not the maximum value. That's not the highest point on the graph. The highest point on the graph is actually to the left of that point because it keeps on going up to approaching those asymptotes. And then you also said the range is between 1/2 and 2. I think you got your graph wrong because nothing is going on between 1/2 and 2. The graph is on the opposite ends of them. So I think that's where you, sorry about that. I'll maybe see, but I think that's where some of your mistakes are going off. RF, thank you for that. Let me know if it's getting any better. But yeah, I think you had a misunderstanding with your graph from on there.